The stars looked cold from the bridge of the Liberty's edge. Commander Jax Reeve stood with his hands behind his back, eyes locked on the black canvas of space. He wasn't thinking about the stars. He was thinking about Earth, and how it was gone. His crew moved around him quietly. This wasn't a normal mission. This was a ghost ship flying into enemy territory, carrying the last spark of a forgotten race. Humanity. Coordinates locked, said Lyra, the pilot. She was young, sharp, and steady. Her hands danced over the controls like she was born to fly. Stealth drive ready, said Thomas, the engineer. He looked older than his age. Grease always on his fingers, eyes tired but focused. Calm silence confirmed, added Ven, the communications officer. He didn't say much. He rarely did. But when he spoke, people listened. Sarah, the medic, stood at the side, arms crossed. She was the heart of the ship, calm, kind, and always watching for signs of stress. Jax turned to them. "This is it," he said. "We've hidden long enough. It's time to remind the galaxy we're still here." No one replied with words. They didn't need to. Their eyes said everything: fear, hope, loyalty. The Liberty's Edge was no ordinary ship. It had been built in secret, deep beneath the frozen surface of Titan's abandoned moon base. Piece by piece, it came together. Human engineers, stolen tech, sleepless nights, and silent sacrifices. Now it stood as the only human warship left in the galaxy. Its mission: break the Zalari blockade over EO7, a hidden human colony under tight alien control. If they could reach the surface, they could deliver weapons, supplies, and most of all, hope. If they failed, they'd vanish like the rest. Jax walked down the bridge and looked each crew member in the eye. "We may not come back," he said. "But if we do this right, someone else will rise after us." Sarah gave a small nod. Lyra smiled faintly. Thomas grunted and went back to his console. Ven just stared ahead. "Engage stealth drive," Jax ordered. With a low hum, the ship disappeared from normal scanners. Outside, the stars seemed to shift as the warship melted into the darkness. The galaxy didn't know it yet, but something had changed. One warship, 5 humans, a mission to light a spark. The Liberty's Edge turned toward EO7 and jumped into the void. The Liberty's Edge moved through space like a shadow. Its stealth drive hummed softly, hiding it from enemy eyes. The ship passed through dark zones and asteroid fields, slipping between patrol paths like a ghost. Inside, the crew stayed quiet. Every sound felt louder than it was. Every light was dimmed. Even breathing seemed careful. Commander Jax Reeve stood by the main display screen. He studied the blinking red dots. Zalari patrols. They were everywhere. "Closest patrol ship is 9 clicks out," said Ven, voice low, holding pattern. "Keep our signature masked," Jax replied. "We don't want to be noticed yet." In the pilot's seat, Lyra's eyes didn't blink. Her hands hovered over the flight controls, making tiny adjustments. "We're threading a needle," she muttered. Thomas sat beside her, monitoring the engine core. "Power output holding. Any sudden burst, and we'll light up like a flare." Jax walked the narrow corridor to the lower deck. Sarah was in the med bay, checking supplies. She looked up as he entered. "You're worried," she said. "I'm always worried," Jax answered. She gave a small smile. "That's why we follow you." Back on the bridge, alarms beeped. 1, then 3. "Contact," Ven said sharply. "Zalari scout vessel, right on our path." Jax's heart pounded. "Did they see us?" "No," Ven replied. "But they're scanning. If we move wrong, they will." Jax looked at Lyra. "Options. None I like," she said. "We can hold still and hope. Or we punch it and risk alerting everything nearby." Jax thought for a moment. Silence filled the bridge. "Punch it," he said. Lyra didn't hesitate. She fired the thrusters. The Liberty's Edge shot to the side, gliding through a narrow gap in a drifting rock field. The Zalari ship picked up movement. Its scanners blinked. "They saw something," Ven said. "Not sure what." "Prepare for engagement," Jax ordered. The Zalari vessel turned sharply. Blue light glowed from its engines. It launched a drone. "Here it comes," Thomas shouted. A burst of plasma fire streaked toward them. Lyra swerved. The blast missed, but just barely. "Shields up," Jax yelled. Thomas threw the switches. The ship's outer shell glowed briefly as energy shields activated. "This weapons?" Jax asked. "Locked," Ven replied. "Fire." Twin bolts of energy shot from the Liberty's edge. One hit the drone. It exploded in a flash. The other hit the scout ship's hull. It spun out of control, but not destroyed. "They'll call for backup," Sarah said over comms. "We need to disappear," Jack said. "Now." Lyra boosted the engines. The ship dove into a dense cloud of magnetic dust. The Zolari ship didn't follow. Silence returned. Minutes passed. Then an hour. "They lost us," Ven said. "For now." The crew sat quietly. The danger had passed, but just barely. Jax looked at the display again. More red dots were shifting. "They're searching harder now," he said. "We rattled the cage." He turned to his crew. "From this point on, no more mistakes. No more lucky escapes. We do this clean and fast." "Understood." Everyone nodded. Outside, the stars continued to shine, cold and distant. But now, somewhere out there, the enemy was awake and watching. Far across the stars, on the massive Zolari command vessel Kravenex, High Strategist Vorax stood in silence. His long silver robe shimmered under the cold blue lights of the war chamber. His skin, pale and smooth like polished stone, glowed faintly as he studied the hologram before him. A scout vessel had reported a contact, small, fast, human-made. It had vanished before full identification, but the message was clear. A human warship had appeared. "Impossible," hissed Vorax. His voice was calm, but his long fingers tapped the console with growing tension. "Their fleets were crushed a century ago." An aide stepped forward. "The scout ship is damaged. It picked up no identification code. But the speed, the heat signature. It's not Solari." Vorax narrowed his eyes. "A remnant, perhaps. A forgotten toy of a dead race. Still, they move with purpose." He pressed a button on the console. A galaxy map appeared. Red sectors marked Solari control. Blue dots marked patrols. One spot blinked yellow. "EO7. Send 3 interceptors," he ordered. "No questions, no chances." The aide bowed and left. Vorax turned to the stars outside the window. "Humans were meant to kneel," he whispered, "not rise." Back aboard the Liberty's edge, tension hadn't left the ship since their near encounter. Jax Reeve sat in the war room with Lyra, Thomas, Ven and Sarah. A faint hum filled the room. The ship's stealth drive still running at low power. 2 days until we reach EO7, Lyra said. "If we keep dodging patrols." "Too many patrols. Too many patrols," Thomas added. "And they're shifting, like they're looking for us." "They are," Ven confirmed. Solari chatter just spiked. Something spooked them. Jax rubbed his chin. "Then we stay dark. No sudden moves, no signals." Just then the comms unit blinked. A message. Ven frowned. "It's a distress call. Civilian code." Jax leaned forward. "Human." "Yes." "Location drifting transport. 1 jump away. No weapons, no shields." Silence fell. "We can't," Lyra said. "We're already exposed." "They'll die," Sarah said. "If we don't help, no one will." Jack stared at the console. His mind raced. Every second wasted meant more risk. But the people calling out were human. His people. He looked up. "How far?" "1 jump," Ven replied. "But it'll light us up." "We jump," Jack said firmly. Lyra didn't argue. She set the course. Moments later the stars around them shifted. The ship emerged into open space. There it was, a small human transport ship, spinning slowly. Fires burned along its hull. 3 Zolari interceptors circled it like sharks. "They haven't seen us yet," Thomas said. "Then let's make them," Jax replied. "Arming weapons," Ven said. "Coming in fast," Lyra added. The Liberty's edge roared forward. It was no longer hiding. It was hunting. The first shot cut clean through one of the interceptors, blowing it apart. The second swerved, firing wildly. Plasma bursts flashed across the void. The warship dodged and returned fire. The third interceptor fled. The damaged transport drifted quietly. Life signs? Jax asked. 27 survivors, Sarah said. No power, no comms. Get them aboard, Jax ordered. Fast. Within minutes, the humans were transferred. Dirty, scared but alive. A boy looked up at Jax. Are you real? He asked. Jax knelt. We're real, and we're not done yet. Later in the mess hall, the rescued civilians sat in silence, eating. Jax stood with his crew. You did the right thing, Sarah said quietly. Maybe, Jax said. But now the whole Dominion knows we're out here. He looked out the nearest window, past the stars. They'll come hard, and he would be ready. The lights on the Liberty's Edge were dimmed again. After the rescue, the crew moved carefully, watching every system and every sound. The ship was still flying, but it had lost its cover. The Zolari knew they were out there now, and they were closing in. Commander Jax Reeves stood on the bridge, staring at the star map. Red markers, Zolari ships were spreading across the sector like spilled ink. There was no more hiding, only running, fighting, and finishing the mission. We burned too bright, Tomas said from the engineering console. The interceptors lit us up like a beacon. We should have left the transport behind. We save who we can, Sarah said calmly. She stood by the entrance, arms crossed. That's what makes us human. Tomas didn't argue, but he looked away. Lyra zoomed out the map. We're boxed in. No clean path to EOS 7. They're hurting us. Then we break through. Jax said. We don't stop now. In the lower deck, the rescued civilians rested in spare rooms. Some were sleeping. Some were silent. Others just stared at the walls, eyes wide, afraid to believe they were safe. Sarah moved from one room to the next, checking wounds, offering soft words. A mother with a baby cried as she spoke, thanking her again and again. Sarah just smiled and gave the baby a blanket. Back on the bridge, Ven picked up a signal. Encrypted transmission, he said. Human channel. Put it through, Jack said. The voice came through the speaker. This is Commander Halric of the Colony Resistance. We see you. We hear you. Hold your course. We are ready. The crew exchanged looks. It was the first human voice outside their ship. In a long time, Jax felt a weight lift from his chest. They're waiting for us, he said. An hour later, the mood shifted. A Zolari destroyer appeared on long-range scan. It was massive, heavily armed, blocking the fastest path to EOS 7. Lyra looked to Jax. We can go around, slower but safer. Jax didn't answer right away. Another patrol might spot us if we go the long way. Ven said. But if we punch through the destroyer zone, we take a big risk, Tomas added. We're fast, but we're not invisible anymore. Sarah stepped onto the bridge. And what about the civilians? They're not ready for another fight. Jax looked at them all. Then he stared at the screen. He remembered the boy who asked if he was real. He remembered Earth falling, humanity breaking, silence across space. No more delays, he said. We go straight through. Everyone paused. You're sure? Lyra asked. Jax nodded. The longer we wait, the more they tighten the net. We're not just carrying weapons. We're carrying proof. Proof that humans still fight. No one argued. Lyra set the course. Tomas powered up the core, then locked the weapons. Sarah checked on the civilians and prepared for injuries. The Liberty's Edge turned its nose toward danger. Outside, the Zolari destroyer waited. Inside, hearts pounded. The crew knew what they were heading into, but none of them turned back. The Liberty's Edge raced toward the heart of the storm. Ahead, the Zolari destroyer loomed huge, dark, and deadly. Its hull glowed with blue power lines, and its weapon ports opened like hungry mouths. It wasn't just guarding EOS 7. It was daring someone to try. On the bridge, Commander Jax Reeves stood tall. This is it, he said. No more running. Lyra tightened her grip on the flight controls, bringing us in low, fast, and under their sensors if we're lucky. They'll spot us the moment we charge weapons, Ven warned. Weapons charged anyway, Tomas said. No point in whispering when they already know we're coming. Jax gave a small nod. Let's knock. The first blast came from the destroyer. A streak of plasma fire sliced past the ship's wing. They've locked on, Lyra said. Evasive maneuvers. The Liberty's edge spun sharply to the side, rolling through space like a dancer in the dark. More blasts followed, closer each time. Ven returned fire. Twin beams of light slammed into the destroyer's flank, but its shields absorbed most of the damage. This isn't working, Tomas shouted. We can't break through head-on. Jax looked at the tactical map. The destroyer's engines glowed at the back. Its weak spot. If we can overload their rear shields, we can punch a hole and get through, he said. How? Lyra asked. By blowing our own core, Tomas answered. His voice was low. He understood what Jax meant before anyone else. There was only one way to create enough energy to crack the destroyer's defense. Sacrifice part of their own ship's power. I'll do it, Ven said. He stood up from his seat. Jax turned. You sure? Ven nodded. I know the systems. I know where to overload it. And someone has to stay behind to trigger the release manually. Sarah stepped forward. No, we'll find another way. There isn't one, Ven said gently. You save the others. I'll open the door. A quiet moment passed. Then Jax stepped forward and gripped Ven's hand. Thank you. Ven gave a rare small smile. Tell them, tell the colony. Tell the galaxy. We're not finished. He left the bridge without another word. In the engine room, Ven moved quickly. He bypassed the safety locks and redirected power lines into a single overload point. The core began to glow hotter, faster. 30 seconds to detonation, he said over the comms. On the bridge, Jax gave the command. Full speed. Aim for the gap. The Liberty's edge surged forward. The destroyer opened fire again. One shot grazed the hull, ripping a hole through the side corridor. Alarms blared. Brace for impact, Lyra shouted. Then light. A huge burst of energy exploded behind them as Ven triggered the core surge. The blast hit the destroyer's back shields. For a second, the giant ship faltered. Shields flickered. A hole opened. Now, Jax yelled. The warship dove into the opening. Flames and metal scraps flew around them. The ship rattled. Lights flickered. But they made it through. The destroyer was left behind, damaged, drifting. Silence returned. Jax stared at the display. No more enemy ships on sensors. He looked at the crew. We lost him. Tomas bowed his head. Sarah wiped her eyes. Lyra kept her hands steady, though they shook slightly. He gave us a chance, Jax said. Let's finish this. Outside, EOS 7 came into view. A gray rocky planet, with city lights flickering beneath clouds. The last human colony, waiting. EOS 7 filled the view screen. Cold, gray, and scarred. Storms moved slowly across its sky. Below, the last known human colony waited in silence, trapped under Zalari control. On the bridge of the Liberty's edge, the crew worked quickly. The ship was damaged. Systems flickered. Parts of the hull were still smoking from the fight with the destroyer, but they had made it. We're entering orbit, Lyra said, her voice steady. Shields at 30%, Tomas reported. Weapons are offline. We can't fight again. We won't need to, Jax replied. Not if we land fast. Sarah patched the wounded from the last blast. She moved with calm focus, wrapping bandages, checking vitals. The rescued civilians sat strapped into corners of the ship, watching everything. Some whispered prayers, some just held hands. The ship shook as it entered the upper atmosphere. Atmospheric pressure rising, Lyra warned. This is going to be rough. Brace for descent, Jax ordered. The Liberty's edge pushed through the clouds, flames licking its wings. Wind screamed against the hull. The planet's gravity pulled them harder and harder. An alarm blared. Port stabilizer just blew, Tomas said. Steering is manual now. I've got it, Lyra said, gripping the controls tighter. The ship tilted hard to the side. Mountains passed dangerously close. Sarah held onto the walls, shielding 2 children nearby. Engines at critical heat, Thomas shouted. We either land now, or we crash. There's a plateau outside the colony, Jack said. Put us there. Lyra fought the controls with both hands, sweat running down her forehead. The ship groaned, metal twisting under stress. Then, with one last scream of engines and fire, the Liberty's edge slammed into the rocky plateau. The ship skidded for hundreds of meters, dragging sparks and broken parts behind it. Finally it stopped. Silence. Then cheering. Inside the ship, civilians cried and hugged each other. Crew members slumped back in their seats, breathing hard. We made it, Thomas whispered. Jack stood. He felt every bruise, every ache, but he was alive. They all were. Outside, the sky cleared slightly. The colony of EO7 could be seen in the distance, tall towers surrounded by fences and Zalari watch posts, but no one moved. Not yet. A group of humans emerged from the nearby hills, cautious at first, then faster. They wore ragged clothes, but carried tools and weapons, resistance fighters. Jax walked down the landing ramp with his crew. Dirt crunched under his boots. He looked at the men and women approaching. One of them stepped forward and spoke. You're human. Jax nodded. So are you. The fighter looked at the ship. We heard the stories. We thought they were lies. We're real, Jax said. And we're not alone anymore. More people ran from the hills. Some carried supplies. Others just watched in awe. A boy pointed at the warship, his mouth wide open. Is that ours? He asked his mother. She smiled, crying. It is now. Jax looked back at the ship. Smoke still rose from its engines. Panels hung loose, but it had flown through enemy space and brought hope to the ground. He turned to the gathered people. We came to light a fire. You've kept it burning. Together we take back what's ours. A cheer rose from the crowd. It echoed across the plateau, bouncing off stone and sky. For the first time in years, EO7 had a reason to believe. Night fell over EO7. The stars above were quiet again, but everything on the ground had changed. The Liberty's edge sat damaged but proud on the rocky plateau. Its hull was blackened, some panels bent, one wing nearly gone, but the ship stood, and beside it, the colony stood too, no longer hiding. Commander Jax Reeve stood on a ledge near the ship, looking down at the colony lights. They were brighter now. Fires burned not from destruction but from gathering. People came out of the shadows. They brought food, blankets, weapons. They didn't speak much, but they didn't need to. The silence was full of strength. Behind him, Tomas adjusted a damaged satellite dish. Sparks flew as he reconnected a final wire. Power to the main array is steady, he said. Signal's yours, Commander, Lyra added. She stood beside the console, her arm still bandaged from the landing. Sarah sat nearby with a group of children, drawing on scraps of metal with pieces of charcoal. She smiled quietly when Jax glanced at her. Jax stepped up to the console. A single red light blinked, ready. He pressed the button and leaned close to the microphone. For a moment he didn't speak. He looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, Ven had given his life to open this path. Somewhere beyond that, Earth had once stood. He began. This is Commander Jax Reeve, Human Warship Liberty's Edge, broadcasting from EO7. To all human colonies, known, hidden, or lost, we made it. We reached the surface. We fought through the Dominion's fire. We lost good people, but we're here. If you can hear this, know one thing. You are not alone. We are not extinct. We are not broken. We are rising. He paused, then said the last words slowly. The spark has been lit. Light yours. He ended the transmission. The red light faded. Tomas nodded. Signal sent. Wide range. Every colony, every hidden relay, even the Zalari will hear it. Jax looked at the stars again. Far away, deep inside a cold, metallic chamber aboard the Kravenex, High Strategist Vorax watched the message on a glowing screen. He said nothing. His expression didn't change. An aide stepped forward nervously. Should we respond? Vorax raised a single hand. No, he said. Let them come. Back on EO7, the people had gathered below the ship, hundreds now. Some carried old weapons. Others wore armor made from scrap metal. A flag rose, old earth blue, stitched with hope. Jax stood before them. You've waited long enough, he said. You know the land. You know their patrols. You've survived what they tried to erase. Now we fight." The crowd didn't cheer. They didn't shout. But they raised their hands, lifted tools, nodded. It was quiet, strong, certain. Lyra stepped beside him. "Where to next, Commander?" Jack smiled. It was tired, but real. "Wherever there are humans left to protect," he said. Above them the stars began to shift. In the distance engines lit up the night. Ships coming in low, guided by the message sent. The war had just begun.